Alright guys, Dawnless Days, the biggest mod project in Total War right now, finally has a release date. It is coming to open beta on the 12th of December. After years of development and waiting and a lot of patience, the campaign is finally coming. It's packed with custom factions, bespoke story flavor, visuals that genuinely look next-gen for this engine. So in this video, I'm going to go through all of the latest previews, progress on the campaign and battles, and why Dawnless Days is shaping up to be the Lord of the Rings Total War experience we've all been waiting for. Before we dive straight in though, if you don't own Total War Attila and you want to play Dawnless Days when it releases, you can pick up the game with a massive 90% off on Instant Gaming with the big Black Friday sale. From 35% off Arc Raiders, 23% off Europa Universalis 5, and hundreds more deals just like this across Paradox Games, Bannerlord, and of course the entire Total War catalog, it's the perfect time to get your next game. Also, throughout the sale, every single day, Instant Gaming is fully refunding 96 baskets, which is huge. So if you're interested, use my Black Friday link in the description below to get your games for cheap and support the channel at the same time. Now let's get into Dawnless Days. The biggest piece of real news here is that the team have finally laid their cards on the table about release plans. The biggest Lord of the Rings mod ever made in Total War is coming on December 12th, which is absolutely so exciting. After doing a community poll a few weeks ago, they decided to push out a beta sooner rather than hold everything back for a complete feature-finished 1.0. They want the campaign in players' hands so the wider community can stress test it properly, find the bugs that only show up with thousands of hours of play, of course, and give feedback on pacing, balance, gameplay, challenge, AI responsiveness, and more in a way a small internal test group never could. The devs have also been upfront about the fact that the first public version will still be missing some planned features like certain iconic custom settlements, chunks of the map such as Eriador, and a few of the unique mechanics they want each faction to eventually have. But at the same time, they've also made it clear that what is launching is not a half-built skeleton. The core campaign is already a full overhaul, every planned playable faction is coming in with at least one unique mechanic, and the rosters are enormous, so the vibe here is less early access mess, and more this is a strong foundation, help us get it over the finish line. You can actually see the philosophy reflected in the way they're communicating progress. So instead of the vague, we're working on things posts, they've recently been doing a lot of focused previews, faction introductions, and feature spotlights that show confidence in what's already locked in. Their official channels have been putting out frequent campaign introduction videos for the major factions, which is a clear sign that the campaign structure and starting situations are now stable enough to show off properly. And they've launched a subreddit for the mod, where I'm guessing they'll be watching for feedback and discussions from players as well. And honestly, I love this approach. Dawnless Days is way too big and too lore heavy to just sit in dev limbo forever. A beta release means the community finally gets to play in this version of Middle-earth, and the team gets the feedback and momentum they need to push the mod from insanely promising to finally here and genre defining. So in the last couple months and in the lead up to the campaign release, the team have been sharing a ton of great previews, from animated event screens, which are a perfect example of this. These aren't simple pop-ups with a reused portrait slapped on them. They're fully stylized, moving event panels that feel like they belong in a standalone Middle-earth strategy game. And then there's all the settlement work. We've now seen custom campaign settlements for places like Edoras, Minas Tirith, Osgiliath, Isengard, Minas Morgul, and they look phenomenal. The layouts are thematic, the silhouettes are instantly recognizable, and they add that "oh wow, I'm actually here" feeling every time you zoom in. And of course, this also matters for gameplay, right? Because custom settlement battles are what turn these sieges from generic Attila city fights into battles that carry story weight. You're not assaulting a random walled town anymore, you're storming the White City or breaking through the Shadow's front door. And of course, we've also got the erupting Mount Doom, which is honestly one of the coolest world details I've seen in a Total War campaign map. It's fully animated, constantly alive in the background, and it makes Mordor feel like a place that's breathing menace into the whole map. On the roster side of things, Dawnless Days is really starting to look like one of those mods where battles are just going to feel completely fresh even after dozens and dozens of hours, simply because the unit variety is so deep and so well themed. The new Iron Fist Clan Tier 2 units are a great showcase of the quality bar they're working to. The models look sharp, distinct, and properly grounded in the visual language of Middle-earth, with armor and silhouettes that immediately tell you who you're fighting. And we've also got Hobbit units, which, I mean, I am so genuinely excited about this. It's such a bold choice to have them here, represented in a Total War mod. Beyond just, background flavor, they're here with actual battlefield troops. That adds a massive amount of charm and unpredictability to the roster, and it fits Tolkien more than people might expect. And then, of course, there's the new spider units and cave trolls, which look like proper monsters, not just oversized infantry with awkward animations. The scale is right, the designs are terrifying, and they instantly change what battles are going to feel like for evil factions. A cave troll pushing through a front line isn't just a cool visual, it is a proper tactical event. Same with the giant spiders hunting through forests or flanking around rough terrain. And finally, there's the faction introduction videos, which have been amazing. The team have now done proper campaign intros for every planned playable faction in the first release: Harad, Rune, Dale, Rohan, Woodland Realm, Mordor, Gondor, Isengard, and Erebor. And that is a big deal, because you don't just put out polished starting position showcases unless the campaign setup is stable and ready to go, and the faction identities are basically here and ready. What I like most, though, is that these introduction videos reinforce the idea that the factions aren't just reskins. Each one is being presented with its own theme, strategic vibe, lining up with the dev promise that every planned faction launches with at least one unique mechanic and a fully overhauled campaign framework underneath. So whether you want Gondor's desperate survival war, Rohan's cavalry-driven rescue mission, or the conquest sandbox of evil factions pushing from multiple angles, you can already feel how different the campaigns are going to play. Now, looking past the beta itself, though, the roadmap the team have talked about is basically focused on turning a strong first release into the fully definitive Middle-earth campaign over time. They've already said the initial public version will be missing some iconic custom settlements, parts of the planned unique faction mechanics, and Eriador as a whole, so the obvious post-launch push is filling in those headline gaps, polishing all these areas that people will be feeding back on. And they want more generic Middle-earth settlement variants by culture, more bespoke landmarks, a broader sweep of story systems, so that every faction ends up feeling as mechanically distinct as it looks. That's also why they're encouraging submods and new contributors, especially 3D artists, because settlement building and creature work are a ton of effort to make. So if you're interested in that, by the way, join the Discord below in the video description to get involved and help them out. The other big thing to keep in mind is timing, with the team publicly framing it as the true first playable campaign version. This all lines up with the recent ramp up in faction intros, settlement previews, roster drops, which all look like classic final approach development. The way they've described it, December 12th isn't just the finish line, of course, it's the opening of the gates. Once players get their hands on the beta campaign, that feedback loop becomes part of the roadmap itself, right? Shaping balance, bug fixes, and the priority order for all the missing regions, mechanics, iconic cities, all still in the pipeline. Overall, I would say Dawnless Days feels like it's entered the exciting phase, finally, where the mod is no longer a distant dream. It's a real campaign you can see taking shape in public, and you'll be able to get access to it on the 12th of December, which is just amazing news. And the latest previews aren't just eye candy. They show a team that is fully confident in the core of what they've built. Animated events, custom settlements, monsters, fresh rosters, faction-specific openings, all point to a campaign that is going to feel huge and alive from day one, even if the full canon map waits for later updates. So for me, the takeaway is simple. If you've ever wanted a Lord of the Rings Total War that feels modern, lore-faithful, mechanically deep, this is the one to watch. December 12th is shaping up to be the moment Middle-earth finally arrives in Total War in campaign form in a massive way. And that's essentially it for today, guys. Let me know which faction you're playing in Dawnless Days first, when it releases on the 12th of December, and which of these previews has you most hyped. Subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this, and gameplay videos coming out very soon as well. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.